worry stone that you can rub and hold in your hand. A favorite stuffed animal is something you can have in that area. So things like that, fidget around the house that are of importance, that might comfort, is something that I try to encourage families and kids to do, at mindfulness area. But I also talk to them about lots of activities and books that they can engage in. One of my favorite activities to do, kids just love it, is called It's Not Fair.
Okay.
It would be just like taking a ball, a squishy ball, and throwing it on the floor and saying, "It's not fair." So first saying, "It's not fair that," and then you would finish the sentence, "It's not fair that I can't go to school." And then the act of just slamming the ball on the floor and getting your anger out is wonderful. The kids love it. And, from 11, they all love it. The fact that they can just say, "It's not fair," and what's not fair, and just have that physical outlet to get it out. They love that.
So creating a sense of acknowledgement of what is happening in their world is important for us for them to be okay to acknowledge it, and us to acknowledge it, that this is happening.
Absolutely.
So that anger out, because there are some people, some kids are feeling anger and loss of their normal life, and then you said creating a mindful area in your room, in your house, which can be a comforting place, where somebody can go and just sit down and relax. And perhaps, like, I actually got a Zen garden, a small Zen garden.
Nice.
Yeah, so it has like sand, and they can rate the sand, and they can put pebbles. And I got like a fountain. I had a small fountain I did create in a corner like that. I put some comic books there. But I like your idea of, because I didn't have a stress ball, but I like your idea of even putting a sponge there, and just, I used to do that with my children when they were younger, to give them, different, like a sponge to clean things up, and that can be therapeutic in itself too. I like all the ideas that you have shared with us. Please go on and share some more with us.
Sure. So oftentimes when I talk to kids about a worry, I have them pretend that it's almost like a bully on their shoulder, and they have to have the courage to talk to that worry and stand up to that worry and say, "You're not going to bother me," and be firm words. Because I think that's affirming sometimes, that they need to express what they want, and that it's going to stop, whatever that worry is, and that worry bully is not going to bother them. And just as we would practice talking to someone who, hurt our feelings, another person, and using firm words, you can do that to worry bully. So we talk about that. But I find that kids that are expressing anxiety, worry, they want to talk about that worry all day long. And that is, it's not, we talk about how that makes the worry grow. And
right.
So I try to frame it for families to have what I call worry time. And that during this time, we're going to have worry time. And that's a safe place about our worries. So that doesn't talk about our worries in the morning, at lunch, dinner, just during worry time. So that could be a time where you process or things come up. And I think it's great as parents that we model that we're worried about it too, that it's okay. We're not perfect how we deal with it. And sometimes we don't deal with it in a good way, but then we learn from it. So I think it's to tell our kids that too. But I also encourage families to make a worry jar. Here. And so I just use like a plastic container and label it worry jar and have anybody in the family write on a piece of paper anything they're worried about throughout the day, and then put it in the worry jar. And maybe during worry time, that would be a time to get those worries out, talk about the worry. And then my favorite part is rip up that piece of paper, throw it away. So it just feels good that we're done with that now. We can move on.
So you have pointed out a few things, and I want to number it for our viewers. You've talked about a worry jar. You talked about a mindfulness corner. You're talking about speaking to your worry as a bully. You've talked about worry time. So these are some of the strategies that you can do with your children if they are facing anxiety. So again, that is, creating a mindful corner where they can go and relax if they are worried. They can have a specific time where they could speak about their worries. They could have a worry jar. And I think it's a good idea to even have that worry jar as being anonymous. So we can take it out and just talk about it so nobody feels like they're being put on the spot. And have a time set. Okay, we're going to talk about our, whatever is bothering us in that particular time, and not let us consume our whole day. Another thing that I have been doing with my daughter actually is like when you acknowledge your worry. And sometimes I was going through this meditation and it was saying it's okay to say, like, for example, if you're feeling grief, you can say, hello, grief, identify the emotion and then say hello to it, acknowledge it. They are part of who we are. Hello, anger, hello, grief, hello, sadness, hello, happiness, and acknowledge it instead of thinking of all of these things as burden, but thinking of them as emotions that we take upon in our life together, and we just learn how to cope with them.
And that's one of the mindfulness strategies I teach the kids, and it's called name it.
Yes.
So
yes.
Have to name how you're feeling in order to help to it. And then once you name it, then you can perhaps do some breathing. And we talk about mindfulness breathing, and there's so many, breathing exercises that they just absolutely love, and if they can just grab onto one of the ones that I've shown them, that they enjoy, like I tell them, you might not like this one, it might not be for you, but try another one.
Now, I will tell you this, particularly in some communities, mental health is not so well understood. And it's like it's a new thing. Even in, I think I don't want to generalize, but in our community, it's a new thing. Emotional health, mental health. There is less lack of awareness. Sometimes when your child will display anxiety or like depression, the parents freak out. They have no idea what this new beast is and how to tackle that. Can you give us like 1, 2, 3 of a parent who doesn't know much about emotional mental health, what steps they could take? I talk about it personally also, but I would like to hear from you. Like if you get parents who are not so in tune with emotional mental health, how do you guide them?
I think when I talk to parents, initially sometimes they react without thinking. We all do, and they might get upset at the child or reprimand the child, and it might happen to me. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect, but trying to avoid reprimanding, I think, is really important. But listen to what exactly is going on, and maybe ask some more questions, and sort of identify where that feeling came from, and try to help the child identify, what they're feeling, because helping them have sort of like a gauge on their feelings. Are you having like one of these feelings that's up here? Are you in the middle? Are you here? Sort of having like a thermometer of where are you, and then I can help I can respond. Because sometimes they want to talk. Sometimes they need space, and sometimes they want to talk. Or you might say, when you're ready, I'll be over here and I'll be waiting to talk to you once you're calm. And so sometimes parents want to talk and we pick, this, and sometimes we need to step back and say, it looks like you're really upset, and when you're ready to talk, I'm here, and I'll be here.
So the first thing would be not to overreact and understand that mental health is just as important as physical health. And just because your child is sharing an emotion or anxiety or a fear doesn't mean that there's something permanently wrong with your child. You have to give them the space, hear them out, and know that this problem or whatever barrier that is there, it can be addressed. Because this is, I'm particularly also talking about communities who are not so aware of mental health. And I know more and more people are now aware of mental health, but sometimes parents get into blame game or what happened, why did this happen to my child. I always talk about it in this way that first of all, you're not alone. This is happening to many of us right now. Many of us are having these apprehensions, and mental health is as important as physical health, and sometimes mental health can affect physical health negatively. So the first thing is to acknowledge that it is something that is, you're not alone in, that there is help out there, that if you do get the help from outside, your child will get better. If you get him the coping skills, the tools, that they will get out of it, and it can be something that is a phase that they're going through, or perhaps a rough patch, or perhaps they need the help of a professional. So that just to the parents who don't really want to believe in mental health. So that's what I like to say to them, because a lot of times parents are also afraid. They are afraid when you tell them your child might have a mental health disease or have an emotional problem. They are not receptive to that. I mean, I wonder why that is. Like, why is mental health it is like, it's a taboo almost, in many societies, regardless of how much we know about it, So to those parents, like right now, what would you say to them? I mean, besides the fact that you did tell us that you need to listen to them, you need to give them space, you need to, be there for them. What else, would you suggest?
I would suggest, having a connection with the school is so important, because if a parent is noticing something, I'm sure that a teacher or someone that works with the student at school has also noticed it. So, and with the teacher, having those lines of communication open, and the school counselor, someone like me, is so important to use those resources to work together in partnership, because there's also school psychologists at our schools that I partner with, my school psychologist, and she's wonderful, and we problem solve together to help students and families. So that partnership with the school is really important. And even if maybe maybe you didn't feel connected with one teacher one year, try again with another teacher, or try with someone else in the school, because they definitely want to partner and to help.
Right, absolutely. I would like to, again, welcome everyone who has joined in, and I want to know the parents and certain strategies that parents can implement to help the children, their kids. We talk. Can you name a few of those, so the new ones who are joining us, they know exactly what we're talking about?
Sure. So some of the strategies that we've talked about would be talking about mindfulness, creating a space in your home, like a mindfulness area or corner, and then within that area, maybe having a basket of mindfulness activities, whether that's a favorite stuffed animal or a putty or a worry stone that they rub that they found on a walk, a ball. Another activity that I love to do is the It's Not Fair game. So they say, it's not fair that we're not going back to school. And then they, grab a ball and they slam it on the floor. And just that act of getting the anger out and slamming the ball is really enjoyable. I love it. I
think I like that activity also.
And that's been.
I want to share something here, Daniela. Thank you so much for saying that. I have this one book that I got and that I really love. It says,
that's my favorite one.
Yes, what to do when you worry too much. It's a kid's guide to overcoming anxiety. Oh my goodness, you have it too. All right. So I read. Yeah,
that's probably the book I the most copies of a book that I have in my office would be that one.